Kropke, Van Ways, and Bobby Jurison, the Outstanding Defensive Player nominee and Defensive Player.
A rebuilt linebacking core this year, and Dale Joseph, the only guy in that defensive backfield who played all 19 games this year, leading into the Western Final. 2nd and 10 for McManus. And here's Burse out of the backfield. And Joseph there to stop him at the 25. And so Saskatchewan's defense comes up first to make a stop today and forces a punting situation.
But I like the play by Danny Mack. Swing it out, give it the ball to big Tony Burse, 6 feet, 240 plus pounds. Put him in the open field. He's either going to run around you or he's going to run over you.
So the first punt of the game upcoming from Sean Fleming. And the Eskimos leading the league this year in punt coverage. Shannon Baker is back. And Baker from his 42. Across the 50, and he is hit hard there.
You'll never get left out in the cold with MotoMaster, Canada's #1 selling brand of batteries. Available only at Canadian Tire, Canada's auto parts store, made better.
Chris, Wally Buono was saying last week prior to the Western Semi that there are times in a season when a quarterback gets in such a zone, it doesn't matter what you do defensively. Looks like Reggie Slack is in that zone.
And that is all called confidence. Things are working. Everything's working right now. And if they do stuff a play, he comes back with it. And that's what you want out of a quarterback. And that's what makes teams that may be mediocre during the year rise to big heights in the playoffs.
Well, that first game of the day was a beauty. The Argos prevailing 37-30 in a classic, and Mark Lee will talk to the hero Pinball Clemens, who scored the winning touchdown. Pinball will join us live at the half of this Western Final. In the final minute of the opening quarter, 2nd down and 9. Slack looking downfield. Narcisse in a real battle there against Kevis Reed, the all-star corner, and Reed comes up big that time.
And I tell you what, he just did a great job. Kevis Reed did of coverage here. Narcisse tried to stop, try to freeze him, and keeps going, picks up the acceleration again, and Kevis stays with him step for step right here. This is as good as coverage as you're going to get. That is excellent coverage.
6 all-stars on the starting defensive unit for the Eskimos, including Kevis Reed, and for the first time today, they forced the Riders into a punting situation. McCallum to kick it, and this is where Gizmo can turn a game around. And Williams up near the 30 and still going, and drove all the way to the 33. So a 23-yard return for the Giz after a 50-yard Paul McCallum punt. That's the first quarter at Commonwealth. It was a beauty.
After 1 quarter of play, it's Saskatchewan in front. You're looking at the Edmonton Eskimos shoe cart, and that's the equipment manager, Dwayne Mandrusiak, Danny Baird, who's already making adjustments to the cleats. We've seen some situations where Sean Daniels had trouble with footing.
Well, that's true, and again, they have to be very careful what shoes they have on, especially for a guy like Sean, who's going to touch the football quite a bit today.
We can tell you that there was frost on this field early this morning before the temperature began to go above 0, so the top of the field appears to be loose.
It is, and again, this time of year, you want to make sure you have the right shoes on so you're not worried about your footing, so you can just go out and play.
Remember 1 year ago, the Eskimos notorious for wearing shoe nails, screw nails in those cleats against the Bombers in the West semifinal. Chris?
And a game, Mark, that Chris Walby was not involved in because of a late season injury. Here's Eric Blunt.
Yeah, I missed that, and I tell you what, it's amazing all the stuff that came out of that. But look at the first downs here. Saskatchewan, 8 first downs. Yard rushing, 58. Edmonton, they wanted to get the ball into Blunt and Burst, -1. And the time of possession, Saskatchewan is really using the clock, 10 minutes to 4:54 for Edmonton.
And Saskatchewan with the 14-7 lead through 15 minutes. Second down pass from McManus falls incomplete as he looked over the middle to Darren Flutie. And for the second consecutive possession, the Eskimos are quickly forced to punt.
And this is why I think you have to get the running game in there, because right now the linebackers of Saskatchewan are getting depth. And what happens then, if you're going to slide somebody, one of your running backs across the middle, they're right in front of the linebackers. You want the linebackers up so you release behind them. So I think they still got to get Burst and Blunt a little bit more involved in that ground game to open up that passing game.
Usually you see defenses start quickly, butterflies on offense. Seems like the defenses are just starting to settle down here. Shannon Baker dancing around. He'll lose yards. Maurice Miller was the man to bring him down. 49-yard punt and a loss of 3 on the return. Coming up next Saturday, the Bank of Montreal Nations Cup. First of 3 shows from the Royal Winter Fair. Join Scott Russell, Terry Leibel, and Tom Harrington at 2 o'clock Eastern next week. 14-7 in the Western Final, the visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders. And the Riders are here in big numbers. I wonder if he had to buy 3 tickets.
3 heads are better than 1, they say.
Well, they have invaded Edmonton for this weekend, and they'd like to stay a week. There's the give inside to Daniels, and not much doing there. Let's join Steve Armitage.
Chris, I just talked to the Saskatchewan trainer, and a lot of their offensive linemen are coming off the field. They're going longer cleats. They feel they need the added traction. Chris Welby, you can appreciate that.
Well, big time. One of the things that happens, playing on this field, it's like, I'll make the analogy, it's like playing on a carpet that's laying on a wood floor. You get the good grip in the beginning, and you're sliding after you get to the depth.
Second down. Here's Slack to Mayfield, and Mayfield can't hang on. Boy, Curtis Mayfield's been open so far this afternoon. That time unable to reel it in.
But that's the biggest thing. He has been open, Chris. You're 100% correct. But watch the offensive line. The offensive line is giving him the time to throw. That's what's going to happen. You give Reggie time, he's going to hurt you. He's going to let those longer plays, longer developing plays happen, as that one was evidenced by Mayfield downfield open but couldn't squeeze the football.
So McCallum back in. There's Gizmo revving up. Ball bouncing away from Williams. At the 42. Gizmo surrounded and no room to operate that time. A 42-yard punt with the roll for Paul McCallum.
Now get a 28-point winter checkup, plus oil, lube, and filter, tire rotation, and a free jug of washer fluid, all for just $29.95, only at Canadian Tire.
Well, Jim Daly said we have to be at our best to win, but they've beaten the best this year. They've beaten Toronto, they've beaten Edmonton, beat Calgary to get here, and Ron Lancaster says they're not here by any accident. They deserve to be here.
Well, they said that, you know, Saskatchewan's record against Western teams this year was 5-5. Edmonton's was 6-4. He says, so anybody can beat anybody on any given day. So that's what he's worried about. He says they did not fluke their way into the final. They earned it.
And the offenses that could do no wrong in the opening 3 possessions of the game are slowing down. Danny McManus was 4 for 4, and he's missed on his last 4 attempts.
And I think one of the things you want to do is change things. Don't start getting into a rut. I think when you first come out, the defenses are tight. They're trying to recognize things. They got a million things going through their head right now. As a result, the offenses can sometimes catch fire quickly, but as the defenses start to relax, they start to recognize.
2nd and 10. Over the middle, complete. Robert Gordon has the catch. Ryan Carey, the safety, the tackle. Gordon claiming there was a face mask, and there is a penalty marker down.
Well, I think he was hog-tied by Ryan Carey, and I think they're going to march up an extra 15 on this one.
17 yards, the pickup for Robert Gordon. You see the numbers on the year.
Face mask, Saskatchewan number 47, first down.
Well, I apologize to Ryan Carey. It was Ron Getz that got the call. But you can see he just comes across. You get a little slip right there. You can see the field slippery. Makes a nice catch. There's Carey, and it is Ryan Carey, and I'll just have to talk to the referees after the game.
Well, Robert Gordon was on a team that won 3 games last year. The Ottawa Roughriders is looking for his first playoff win. McManus now goes to work, looking for Eddie Brown. Brown, what a catch! And he's down at the 1.
Well, you don't get a moniker or a nickname like Touchdown Eddie Brown for nothing. We saw it in the Grey Cup when he caught one off his knee, his foot, and back into his hands, the concentration. And this is another example of this. Phenomenal catch, over the wrong shoulder, turns and catches it. Watch this throw. He's flipping, it's looking over the shoulder, he gets touched by the defender, and still has enough presence of mind to catch the ball, get up and then try and at least fight it to the end. Look at that, that is just on the money. That's dropping it into the bucket. That's big play right there.
We've talked about it over the years with Eddie Brown. If he is involved early, he's especially dangerous. A 10-year veteran, and now the Eskimos' Tony Burse trying to punch it in. No signal. And it will be second down. Tony Burse has been almost automatic this year with 13 touchdowns.
You know, Chris, you got to give Saskatchewan's defensive line credit, but I'm not too sure I agree with what Tony Burse is trying to do at the end of that play by stretching up from the back and putting the ball over his head, trying to cross that line. All it has to do is be punched across or punched out of his hands, and it could result in a fumble.
That's what Greg Marshall's saying, the defensive coordinator. Punched that football. Dan Rashovich checks in to bulk up the line, and Burse again, no signal except from Danny McManus, and Rashovich celebrates.
Well, these guys are fired up, and if you're going to earn it, you're going to have to do it the hard way. They've tried to. They went to the right, nothing happened. This is a great job. Look at that. You can see Leo Groenewegen get pushed back. You can see Rasmovich. You can see Gary Sutton. That's what you want out of your defense. Don't let one guy make the play. Gang tackle him, baby.
Dan Rashovich, 36 years of age, a 14-year veteran, and now 3rd and goal, and the fans on their feet at Commonwealth. McManus, keeper, won't get there. Tossed it into the end zone, but the play was dead.
Well, Chris, you just talked about Dan Rasmovich making the play, last play. Look at this. He reacts. Danny Mac fakes the dive play inside, hoping to suck the linebackers inside, hoping that defensive line will pinch. Instead, they stay with their people they're supposed to cover. They don't get fooled. Rasmovich goes outside. Danny Mac has no option but trying to beat the run. Watch this. There's the fake. You can see Keith Gary goes with the fake. But watch out this corner of your screen. You're going to see not everybody was fooled. And there they are. They stop, and Rasmovich is there. Sutton is there. That's what you want.
Rashovich, one of only 4 Saskatchewan Roughriders that was there in '89 for the Miracle Run. So the Riders take over on downs from their own 1. Dangerous territory. Slack looking deep, looking for Winans. He has him. Glenn Rogers, the only man there. Winans trying to get by him, and Rogers saves the touchdown.
How do the tides of emotion work? You just saw that. Saskatchewan's defense, 3 plays stopping him on the 1-yard line. What does Reggie Slack do? He doesn't get conservative on the 1-yard line. No, he goes back. He's got confidence in that O-line and that fullback and throws a bomb to Winans. Now they are in scoring position.
Winans with great speed, 81 yards. A late addition to the Saskatchewan team. Originally a 3rd-round draft choice of Washington.
And the play of Winans is the fact of why Rod Harris is not in the lineup.
Harris was ready to return, but Jim Daly didn't want to upset a roster that provided the win last week. There's a sack, a huge play by Leroy Blue, stopping Slack back at the 40, but there is a penalty marker down in the defensive backfield.
Well, these are one of those penalties you hate to see, or sacks. You can see McCoskey's got him, but if your quarterback...
contact on an eligible receiver. Edmonton, number 13, first down.
Boy, when things are going right, they're going right. But in McCoskey's defense, if a quarterback's going to scramble and your tackle doesn't know where he's going to scramble to, a lot of times you'll let that end take the outside. Sometimes, though, as Leroy Blue did in that case, it'll put him right in line with the quarterback.
So Tommy Henry is called on the play. That negates the sack, and the ball now is at the 18-yard line. That's Kevin Mason, the backup quarterback, on the headset. And Reggie Slack calling the plays. 5 receivers being the set for Saskatchewan. Here's a pass for Narcisse coming inside, and he caught that in front of Derek Beatty.
And that is just a nice job. You can see Farthing, the slot back there, staying with this. This thing is working for Saskatchewan, so they're going to do it. Narcisse just going to come back inside the middle. Farthing's going to go to the outside. Good coverage by Beatty, but tremendous concentration by Narcisse holding on to that ball. You can see they're all over him. That is just great hands.
Narcisse, not a huge factor, surprisingly, against Edmonton this year. Only 7 catches. That was a 5-yard pickup. So it's 2nd and 5. They fake to Walters. Slack gets away from the initial rush, but throws it incomplete. Heat was turned up by Melvin Hunter.
Well, this is what you want to kind of do. You want to bring pressure. You get down in the red zone or the scoring zone, you want to come after Reggie. Give him some different look. They bring a little bit of a blitz. Looked like there's a little mix-up here. Looked like he wanted to hand the ball off to Walters there. Didn't take the ball. Maybe it was a fake boot. But anyway, it was a broken play. And I think Reggie did the great thing, have the presence of mind to get rid of the football.
Well, we expected to see a lot of pressure on Slack today. 14 sacks in 3 games by the Eskimos against the Saskatchewan Roughriders during the regular season. Now McCallum comes in to attempt a 20-yarder. And Paul McCallum puts it through. So at one end, the Eskimos stopped on the goal line. And the Roughriders come back and add to their lead. An emotional goal line stand by Saskatchewan. There's the inspirational leader, Bobby Jurison. You knew he'd be fired up for this Western final.
Football is a game of emotion, and today the emotion level will be higher than it was last week. The guys are fired up. We have nothing to lose. We're the underdogs. They were the champs out of the West. They're hosting the Grey Cup. All the pressure's on them. We're going to go up there and let the chips fall where they may, and hopefully we're on top at the end.
The only thing he's got to lose is that hat, Chris.
Well, the hat, and I think he needs the playoff money to buy some razors.
Here's Gizmo, and he leapfrogs up to the 45. He looks like he's poised to break one today, but that's nothing new.
Well, you see those eyes, they're determined. He'll do whatever it takes to get at least good field position, and he does it time and time again.
29 yards on that return. And an injured Saskatchewan Roughrider, Vincent Donaldson, is down.
Well, this will be a big blow. I think he's a tremendous cornerback, and what I like about his is his run support. He comes up and punishes the running backs. He's had a hard time. He's had a hernia operation. He's missed a few games, but hopefully he's okay.
The computers become a stage for the entire planet. Better get a good seat. Hayworth, furniture for what's next.
The hitman, Vincent Donaldson, getting attention, a 7-year veteran of the Saskatchewan defensive backfield.
And you can just see he comes in here from the left. He gets caught in a sandwich, and you kind of hope that that's just the wind knocked out of him. I mean, when you're coming against a guy like Giz who's got all that speed going up on him, and the fact that Vincent did have a hernia operation earlier this year, and you're not really fully recovered. I mean, yeah, you get the staples out and stuff, but if you take a certain shot, you stretch your abdominal muscles a certain way, there's always the risk of re-injuring in that, and we can only hope that that's not what happened.
Cart out quickly, and Jim Daly is going to have to make an adjustment in that defensive backfield. 4th-year man Patrick Burke has checked into the Saskatchewan defensive backfield. It's been ravaged by injuries this year. Burke one of 11 DBs to play for Jim Daly's team as they are getting Donaldson onto the cart.
Mark Lee with Danny Barrett, our game day analyst. Danny, as an offensive coach, What do you say to your quarterback here? You go right after Patrick Burke.
Well, I think you have to take a look over there. He's stiff. He's been on the sidelines now for a quarter and a half, and he's probably going to be a little tentative in his coverage. So you want to probably put Eddie Brown or Don Blair over there and see what he's up to.
And what kind of experience does Patrick Burke have in a game of this magnitude?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, this may be his first game of this magnitude. So, again, he's going to be a little tentative, so you got to see if he's ready to play.
Chris?
You can tell that Danny Barrett has been in that.
I think
he's licking his chops down there.
I think he's being very polite. I think that's the first thing he's going to look at right now, and he'd go after Patrick Burke right away.
Well, Burke checked in. He conferred with Ryan Carey and with Bobby Jurison. And here is Don Blair on the flanker screen, and Blair into Saskatchewan territory, a 14-yard pickup, and he's had a couple of key catches so far.
And anytime you get the ball on a guy like Blair, here's a nice Canadian receiver out there, just a quick swing pass, get the boys out in front of him, but the other receivers do a tremendous job of blocking. You can see him roll blocking, cut blocking if you would. Eddie Brown with his man. That's what you want to do. If you're not going to catch the ball, at least get in the way and allow the opportunity for the receiver to find a seam.
Under 6 minutes to play first half, and Eric Blunt on that reverse, and he's dragged down by Gary Rogers. And a loss of 3 on the Blunt run, and it's been a problem for the Eskimos all year establishing a running game. When I asked Ron Lancaster, can you run today? He said, well, if we don't early, we'll just go straight to the passing game.
I think he just said that in jest. I don't think you can strictly live off the pass, because then your defensive team can just sit in certain situations, sit in certain coverages, and take away all of your bread and butter pass plays. You have to be able to run, but you got to give credit to Saskatchewan's defense, and I think the addition of Ron Getz has really helped them in the linebacker corps.
Second down, 13 for McManus, and a knockdown there. Big defensive play by the middle linebacker, Greg Clark. Let's check in with Steve Armitage.
Chris, the news on Donaldson is not good. He has a torn patella tendon, and that means he won't be back in this one. So for Saskatchewan Roughrider fans, the news is not good. A torn patella tendon.
So the hitman has taken a hit, and that's a tough break for a long-time Rough Rider. Fleming on third down. The punt angling out at the 19-yard line.